we are here as part of a celebration, right? We're celebrating 75 years of the UDHR. And while it is a wonderful, wonderful instrument, I think it's also important that we must recognize its shortcomings. The UDHR feels a bit, to me at least, almost like a one-size-fits-all kind of document. And we are not one-size-fits-all, right? As queer communities, as communities with disability, indigenous communities, we know that we need to do more work for some than for others. And so I think it is up to us in this room to make sure the document is interpreted in a way that makes sense. So that is going to be very, very important. When on the African continent, we first became aware of the sort of anti-gender, anti-rights movement that was happening, it felt very, very far away because it was happening across East Europe. And we kind of thought, okay, not our problem, right? And then all of a sudden, one day, it was everywhere, even in places that we thought we had won. Places like Namibia, places like Botswana, places like Ghana, which was really where you had many wonderful pro-rights African feminist-based. In these places, we actually thought we had won, and we had made the tick behind our names, and we had moved on. And in those very spaces today, we see how the anti-movement, anti-gender rights people are really organizing, using our very own language against us, right? It's about women's rights, it's about family rights, except they define it very differently. One of the words that came up a lot here is that of intersectionality, the word. And I think it's going to be incredibly important that we define what that means. We have seen with intersectionality that when we start talking about how women's rights must be funded intersectionally, then often the funds disappear. Right? So we move it from a women's rights pot into this intersectional pot, but the intersectional pot is a little bit amorphic, and we're not always sure where the money goes to, but I can promise you one thing, it's not going to women's rights organizations. So what is happening? I do just want to briefly say, because I'm very aware that we must be out of here by 1, that as those in the donor world, we do need to think very differently. So we're asking our partners, please do a 3, a 4, a 5-year strategy. The truth is that by the end of the week, when your strategy is done, it's also outdated because the world has shifted so much. Activists really find that they go to bed in one country and wake up in another country because the laws have changed during the night, or there was a proposed law that came up during the night. And so as those in the donor community, we kind of need to think differently about it because the log frame, the multiple year strategy, it's simply not working anymore. I do think, and it came up a lot, that we work in silos, right? We ask partners, what is your niche? How are you working differently? What's unique about you? And how are you different from A, B, C, and D? The truth is that people have to adopt so fast in a world that is incredibly fast-paced that I'm not sure that is a fair question. Organizations are constantly having to reinvent themselves to meet the moment. And so I'm asking for funding that is really flexible and funding that is really as much as it can be without conditions. On the African continent, we see another really important instrument really under threat, and that is the Maputo Protocol, right? That really we need to have the fight around women's rights. And if you look at what is currently happening and how family is being defined, the Maputo Protocol is under direct attack by the people that you think would be there to support it. So progressive rights simply isn't on the table. I want to agree with whoever said, was it you, Jess, that said that part of the losses that we see is because of our successes. Absolutely. We need to claim that because it's true. And when you have many successes, as the queer community has, we sometimes forget that the backlash can also come, and it can be as bad as the celebrations. It can be equal to the celebrations of the winnings that we've had. I want to agree with Brett. I do think it's an old method, but it's tried and it's tested. It's about winning hearts and about winning minds. And there, storytelling has become incredibly important. And it's amazing how we go 360, because a while ago it wasn't the most innovative way for people to work, through storytelling. And now we find that we're going back there because we need people to tell their authentic stories, their unique stories, the stories that no one can refute. I think that is incredibly important. And so, yes, where we were talking about 14 years ago, that sort of went out of style for many of us, it's right back where we started. We are not right back where we started. There are more countries that have decriminalized. There's enhanced criminalization for queer communities that affects everyone. But do not lose hope, because truthfully, if we look back at where we were 20 years ago, there's been a lot of backlash, but we're still ahead of where we were, and so I think progress is still to be made. I want to say thank you very much to the panelists that came out today, SALC for a brilliant gathering of organizing, and no, I did not try and wrap up the panel, because I don't think a panel like that can be wrapped up. So thank you very much for being here today.
Baba